Alright, so today we are going to be doing a simple signals and slots demo with Qt. Let's create a new project to get started. It's just going to be a regular console application. We'll call it timer demo, since that's what we're going to be demonstrating today. Choose your version of Qt framework. No version control. So we start out with a class, a main template, which just has a Q core application. That is the thing that actually processes the signals and slots in a Qt application. The a.exec function will block once it's called, and it loops internally with a queue that processes the signals and slots that are emitted from the signals that are emitted from classes, and invokes this appropriate slot function in all of the connected slots to those signals. So let's see how we can do this with a simple timer. I'm going to go ahead and create a class, just a regular C++ class that will call timer handler. It can be called anything you want, really, but this is just an appropriate name. Again, no version control. We'll add it to the project. Just as you can see, it's a standard C++ class. However, we are going to define a slot in timer handler that will connect to a Q timer, and this slot will be invoked every 500 milliseconds. And what it'll do is it'll print out a message into the terminal. So let's go ahead and implement that. So the first thing we need to do is inherit from QObject. Every class that has signal that uses signals and slots needs to inherit from the QObject class. It also needs the special macro at the beginning of it, which just adds some additional magic that Qt will use to support signals and slots. And we're not going to have any signals in this timer handler, although we could. In fact, I'll make one anyway. Well, let's do the slots first. So we'll call our slot write line. And we'll implement that in a second. We'll also have a signal called line written, which we will emit after we're done writing a line. Notice that there's signals are neither public nor private, so just be aware of that. Slots can be public, private, or protected. We will now go ahead and implement this write line function, or slot. Really, all this does is prints out hello world whenever this function is called. It's just a regular function, even though we called it a slot. When a signal is connected to the slot, when any signal is connected to the write line slot, the write line function will be called when that signal is emitted, and we will print out hello world into the terminal. We're going to need a little bit of a header file there. Then, in addition, we also want to emit a signal so that we can let anyone who cares know that we're done writing our line. We will emit the line written function signal. Okay, now let's go back to our main function and actually set things up. We're going to need a Q timer. And this timer is going to go off every 500 milliseconds. We need to go ahead and actually include the timer here, and we're also going to need to include our timer handler. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to connect the Q timer in such a way that our timer handler write line slot is going to get invoked every time the timer ticks, which will be every 500 milliseconds. So in order to do that, we need to use the QObject connect function. And the way it works is we connect the timer's signal, called timeout, to the handler's slot, called writeLine. I just have it on multiple lines for clarity, but it can be all on one line if you'd like. And then, of course, we just need to start the timer. Now, if we run our program, we're saving all of our files. We can see that every 500 milliseconds, in fact, our function is called. And if anything else was connected to the timer handler's line written signal, then that whatever is connected, whatever slot is connected, would also get invoked after the line was written. So you can see this is a really powerful mechanism, and it's a really great way of doing things, a really great way of doing callbacks in C++. I hope that was helpful.